My name's Paul Cherpeau. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Liverpool Chamber of Commerce. I've been in post since 2017, having joined the Chamber back in 2006. I've worked my way up through the organisation, doing pretty much any and every function of the organisation, and now I'm privileged to lead it. The Chamber is a trade association representing Liverpool businesses, undertaking its mission and purpose to represent the commercial interests of Liverpool, which it's done since its creation in 1850. And it's my responsibility as leader of the organisation to continue fulfilling that particular mission and purpose in the 21st century. Personal highlights for me is actually being appointed as Chief Executive of this organisation. The Chamber has 170 plus years of history, and in that time I'm comfortably the youngest Chief Executive of the organisation. I'm privileged to serve the businesses of Liverpool, and there can't be much greater honour for me, having come into the organisation 15 years ago, almost to the day. I've been privileged to be part of a lot of great activities that have taken place in the city, those delivered as a city activity, but also those delivered by the Chamber. So, countless annual dinner awards, some brilliant projects that we've worked on, including things like the Young Chamber, working with schools and education institutions to develop opportunities for young people in the city, pitching to overseas World Chamber Federation Congress members back in 2012. There's been some fantastic experiences alongside the inevitable challenges that come with operating in or running a business, and it's that combination and variation of experience in my 15 years at the Chamber that is so unique and is such a highlight for me. Effective leadership for me is being able to articulate a purpose and a mission, and to be able to inspire or align the people who are ultimately going to deliver that vision and purpose into a cohesive whole. I think you are constantly looking for that vision, that energy and that inspiration within any leadership function. I think that authenticity, communication ability, personability is really, really important, so that team members at whatever position, age or otherwise, can actually come together and recognise their individual contribution to your overall mission. I look at the likes of Jurgen Klopp as manager of Liverpool, and some of the other outstanding managers that have been so successful in football and coaching, and the way that they harness and build a culture of excellence, all targeted towards an end goal. If you look at those traits, if you can find ways of bringing them into your leadership style, then that will encourage really positive performance from the people who ultimately you're largely dependent upon delivering your objectives as a leader. I think my leadership style has been one that has evolved a lot over the previous number of years. I wouldn't say I'm the same person who was appointed as Chief Executive now nearly 4 years ago as I am today. It's very much a case of iterative learning experiences each and every day, and an organisation like ours, where we're relatively small but have a huge reach and a huge impact where we get things right, there's a massive variation on a day-to-day basis about what my job entails and those of the Chamber. So my leadership style has really had to adapt, and as we've begun to grow the company once again, it's actually making sure that my leadership style is adapting to that. Less of the doing and more of the delegating and leadership, and that's a key trait that I think I've learned over the past decade, even before I became Chief Executive. But certainly that's become increasingly refined and honed as the job has developed as Chief Executive, and it will undoubtedly continue to evolve over the period of time. I think one of the key things that a leader has to do is adapt to the circumstances that they find themselves in. COVID-19, the pandemic, has provided some really unique set of circumstances that required me to use the traits and the innate abilities I'd developed, but maybe refocus them a little bit to make sure that they were much more in keeping with what was required, which was pretty much more of a crisis management approach alongside a strategic approach about what happens post-pandemic. How do we ensure that our organisation is in the strongest position possible to prosper once all of this is over? And I'd like to think that we've achieved that collectively as an organisation. And I think that approach about, you know, maybe the we rather than the I is really important in recognising your position as a leader and trying to bring the people along with you. It's not just about me as a leader, it's about how do other people relate to you, respond to you, and I suppose respect and acknowledge and contribute towards what you are trying to do. And that's an intrinsic part of what I think a successful leader is, and it's certainly something I've learned over the recent months and years. My biggest mistakes as a leader have been perhaps taking too much on at any given time and not finding the appropriate means of delegating, or potentially fudging some decisions in the early days, and maybe recognising at times some areas where a little bit more of a decisive approach may have been more appropriate than one I've taken. In my own sort of self-evaluation, I look at the positives that I've gained from those experiences where I've made mistakes, or potentially could have made mistakes, and learn from them and try and improve upon them. There are always decisions that you make every day that you can say, I might have done that a bit differently. I might have handled a particular situation slightly differently. I don't think I've experienced, whilst I've been chief executive, a major clanger during the 4 years I've been chief executive to date. But of course, you're always evaluating your performance, looking back, and I think also that self-evaluation is maybe an area that I've made mistakes in the past, where I've maybe beaten myself up over a particular decision. Not had a successful night's sleep because a decision that I've made has preyed on my mind. So it's very much a case of not beating myself up, being consistent, and instead being consistent with my decision making, and at least trying to communicate that on as consistent a basis as possible. I would say that's the shift, I think, in how I've developed as a leader. Business leadership can be incredibly varied based on the type of organisation that you're running, the sector you're operating in, the size of business, and those competing pressures that might be impacting on individuals. Some of those variable conditions might be, as a startup business desperate for cash, there will be particular pressures on that kind of individual. A PLC chief executive will have a completely different challenge relating to shareholder pressures, value, and they will respond to that stimulus a little bit differently. I think from leaders across, and this is very broad brush, but I think when you're looking for business leadership, you're looking for tenacity, you're looking for principles, you're looking for inspiration, and you're looking for purpose as well. This is obviously in an ideal world. And I think the nature of business in the 21st century is changing. It is evolving. The more traditional sort of late 80s onwards focus on shareholder value is starting to change a little bit. We're seeing the importance of social value, environmental value, and some of those traits and expectations, I think, are starting to manifest themselves in the more successful entrepreneurs and business leaders. So I think having as a representative organisation, which the Chamber is, and there are other representative organisations out there, I would expect those organisations to be reflecting those principles, to make sure that they are set up, whether it's their governance, their purpose, their marketing, their delivery of their service, to be reflective of some of this best practice in business, representing environmental, social, governance best practice. And that's the way that I can see businesses evolving, with that culture of leadership embedded within those purposeful businesses. I don't have a glib statement of advice for someone coming into a leadership position. It's really difficult to do so on occasion. And for me, it has been a case of learning each and every day something different, making sure that the self-evaluation process that you have to go through is a positive one, that you don't dwell too much on mistakes, you learn from them and you take advantage of every opportunity to learn, and you create relationships with people who can help you, and ultimately that's probably the most valuable insight that I can give at the stage of career that I'm at. I've always taken the approach that I can only develop by learning, and I think that there's a huge amount to be said for identifying and utilising people you trust, and looking at those who have succeeded, those mentors, those people that you can identify with and respect, and taking all the learning you possibly can from those individuals. But ultimately, you can't replicate that exactly. You have to build, you know, the best of those peers into yourself, and ultimately it's about being yourself, I think, and being an authentic leader. I think as soon as you start to deviate from who you are or what you are, and you almost put that mask on, then it can be really, really difficult. Whereas if you can actually get yourself into a position where you are comfortable with yourself, your leadership style, whatever that may be, the importance of it being adaptive and flexible to the circumstances that you're in, then you've got half a chance of making it, I think, as a successful leader.